The message arrived on Earth at precisely 3:47 Universal Standard Time. It bypassed all security protocols, overrode emergency channels, and simultaneously appeared on every communication device across the planet. The Zelthar Dominion had finally decided that humanity's time had come. Captain Maya Reyes stood frozen before the primary display screen at Earth's command center, her dark eyes reflecting the harsh red glow of the alien text. Around her, the massive orbital station hummed with suddenly frantic activity as officers and analysts scrambled to respond to what everyone recognized as an extinction-level threat. "Translation complete," announced the cool, measured voice of Vox. Earth Defense Coalition's most advanced artificial intelligence. Message reads, "To the species designated Homo sapiens, your expansion into Sector 7 constitutes encroachment on territories claimed by the Zelthar Dominion. You have 48 Earth hours to surrender all colonies, dismantle your defensive capabilities, and prepare for integration. Resistance will result in immediate extinction. This is not negotiable." Admiral Johansson, the Swedish commander of Earth's United Defense Forces, stepped forward. The old soldier's weathered face remained impressively impassive, though the tightness around his eyes betrayed his concern. "Options?" he asked simply. The room erupted with voices. "Full military mobilization, evacuate the outer colonies, send a diplomatic delegation." Maya remained silent, her mind racing through everything she knew about the Zelthar, which wasn't much. As Earth's foremost xenolinguistic expert, she had studied the fragments of their language and culture available from encounters with other species, but the Zelthar had always remained distant, their empire expanding in the opposite direction from human territory. Until now. "Captain Reyes," the Admiral's voice cut through her thoughts. "Your assessment?" Maya took a deep breath. "The Zelthar don't negotiate, sir. In every documented encounter with other species, they've offered the same choice: surrender or extinction. Their language doesn't even have constructs for compromise or mutual agreement, only dominance and submission." "So we fight," said General Chen Zhou, head of the Coalition's military division, his voice hard with resignation. Maya shook her head. "With respect, General, that would be suicide. The Zelthar's military capabilities exceed our own by several orders of magnitude. Their fleet could glass Earth within hours. So we surrender." The general's voice rose in indignation. "After everything humanity has survived, wars, plagues, climate collapse, we just give up?" "No." The voice came from the doorway, quiet but commanding attention nonetheless. Dr. Elias Nkomo stood there, his tall frame silhouetted against the corridor lights. The renowned philosopher-scientist rarely attended military briefings, but his counsel was valued across the coalition. "Dr. Nkomo," Admiral Johansson acknowledged with a nod. "Do you have another suggestion?" "We communicate," Dr. Nkomo said, walking slowly to the central display. His dark eyes, amplified by round spectacles, studied the alien text with curiosity rather than fear. "But not in the way they expect." Maya felt a spark of understanding. "You mean we don't play by their rules?" "Precisely." Dr. Nkomo smiled at her. "The Zelthar communicate to dominate, to establish hierarchy. But human communication evolved differently, to connect, to share meaning, to build community." General Zhou scoffed. "And how exactly does that help us against a fleet of warships?" "Because," Maya said, the idea crystallizing in her mind, "it might confuse them long enough for us to find an advantage. The Zelthar expect either submission or futile resistance. What if we give them neither?" Admiral Johansson studied her. "What do you propose, Captain?" Maya turned to the scientist. "Dr. Nkomo, your work on emotional intelligence translation matrices, could we adapt that to craft a message the Zelthar wouldn't immediately recognize as either surrender or defiance?" "Theoretically, yes." Dr. Nkomo's eyes gleamed with intellectual excitement. We would need to incorporate visual symbolism, mathematical concepts, emotional resonance patterns, layers of meaning that transcend conventional language. A message they can't immediately categorize as submission or resistance, Maya continued, but that they can't dismiss either, something that forces them to pause and think. Admiral Johansson looked skeptical. You want to respond to an extinction threat with a philosophical puzzle? I want to buy us time, Maya countered, and potentially change the parameters of the engagement. The Zelthar have conquered dozens of species, all of whom responded exactly as expected. What if the key to survival is to be unexpected? A tense silence fell over the command center. Finally, the Admiral sighed. We have 47 hours until their deadline. I'll give you 6 hours to develop this unconventional response. After that, we proceed with military preparations. He fixed Maya with a stern gaze. Don't waste our time. Captain. Yes, sir, Maya replied, already turning to Dr. Nkomo. We'll need Vox's full processing capacity and access to all our data on Zelthar culture and psychology. And we'll need a secure laboratory, Dr. Nkomo added. What we're attempting has never been done before. As they hurried from the command center, General Joe called after them, If this fails, Reyes, you'll have doomed us all. Maya didn't look back. If conventional responses worked against the Zelthar, General, they wouldn't have conquered half the galaxy. The laboratory assigned to them was deep within the station's research sector. Originally designed for xenobiological studies, its walls were lined with advanced computing terminals and holographic projection systems. Maya immediately interfaced with Vox, while Dr. Nkomo began sketching complex diagrams on a transparent display panel. Vox, I need everything we have on the Zelthar, Maya instructed. Linguistic patterns, cultural artifacts, military communications, anything that might give us insight into how they process information. Accessing databases, Vox responded, its gender-neutral voice echoing through the lab. Warning, information on Zelthar psychology is extremely limited. Most species that have studied them closely are now extinct. That's reassuring, Maya muttered. Dr. Nkomo glanced up from his work. Actually, it might be helpful to analyze those extinct civilizations. How did they respond to Zelthar ultimatums? What patterns might we identify? Excellent point, Maya agreed. Vox, compile responses from all known species who faced Zelthar ultimatums, with particular focus on any unusual approaches and their outcomes. Processing, Vox confirmed. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing fragments of alien communications, mathematical models of Zelthar expansion patterns, and partial translations of intercepted Zelthar military commands. Hours passed as they worked feverishly, building a complex, multi-layered message unlike anything Earth had ever sent to another species. Dr. Nkomo contributed profound philosophical concepts about shared existence and the nature of consciousness, which Maya then translated into symbolic representations that might resonate with Zelthar thought patterns. Their language is highly structured, Maya observed, studying a series of Zelthar military commands. Almost algorithmic in its precision, but there are these strange pauses, these rhythmic patterns that don't serve any obvious grammatical purpose. Dr. Nkomo moved to her side, studying the waveforms. Perhaps it's not just language to them. Maybe it's music, ritual, or both, Maya said, excitement growing. Vox, cross-reference these patterns with known Zelthar religious ceremonies intercepted from their border worlds. Match found, Vox announced after a moment. 83% correlation with ceremonial patterns recorded during Zelthar solstice observations. They embed religious elements in military commands. Maya breathed. That's fascinating. It suggests their concept of warfare is deeply connected to their spiritual beliefs. Which gives us an opening, Dr. Nkomo said, eyes gleaming. If we can speak to that spiritual dimension, we might reach a part of their psychology that's not purely militaristic. Maya nodded, already adjusting their approach. The door to the laboratory slid open, and a junior officer appeared. Captain Reyes, Admiral Johansson requests an update. Your 6 hours are nearly up. Maya glanced at the chronometer in surprise. Time had flown by as they worked. Tell him we're ready to present our concept. Back in the command center, the atmosphere had grown even more tense. Tactical displays showed Earth's defensive fleet mobilizing, but everyone present knew the truth. They were hopelessly outmatched. Maya and Dr. Nkomo stood before the assembled military leadership. Their proposed message displayed on the main screen, a complex blend of mathematical symbols, musical notation, visual imagery, and text in a hybridized language that incorporated elements of Zelthar ritual communication. This, Maya explained, is our response to the Zelthar ultimatum. It's designed to be untranslatable in conventional terms, not a yes or a no, but something that forces them to engage with us differently. General Joe scowled. It looks like gibberish. To human eyes, perhaps, Dr. Nkomo acknowledged. But to the Zelthar, it will contain layers of meaning that resonate with their cultural framework while introducing concepts they may never have encountered. What concepts, exactly? Admiral Johansson asked, studying the strange composition. Maya took a deep breath. Primarily, the concept that true power lies not in dominance but in understanding. The message contains mathematical proofs that demonstrate how diversity leads to systemic resilience. It includes symbolic representations of mutual growth through cooperation rather than conquest. You're trying to teach morality to a species that's exterminated dozens of civilizations? General Joe asked incredulously. No, Maya replied firmly. We're introducing doubt. The Zelthar have never been challenged intellectually or philosophically, only militarily. We're presenting them with a form of communication they've never encountered, one that doesn't fit into their binary of submission or resistance. Admiral Johansson studied the message thoughtfully. And what if they simply ignore it and attack anyway? Then we're no worse off than we are now, Dr. Nkomo said quietly. But there's a chance, a small one, perhaps, that this message might reach something in them that conventional communication cannot. After a long moment, the Admiral nodded. Send it, but continue military preparations. I won't gamble Earth's survival entirely on a philosophical experiment. Yes, sir, Maya acknowledged. She turned to Vox. Prepare to transmit on all frequencies the Zelthar are known to monitor. Wait, Dr. Nkomo interjected. There's one more element we should add. He stepped to a terminal and began inputting a sequence of code. What are you doing? Maya asked. Adding a personal touch, he replied. The message as constructed is powerful but abstract. The Zelthar need to feel the human element, the emotional reality of our existence. When he stepped back, the message had been modified to include a simple visual, a human heartbeat. Its rhythm slightly altered to sync with the ceremonial patterns they'd identified in Zelthar communications. Their warriors' heartbeats synchronized during battle rituals, Dr. Nkomo explained. This presents our heartbeat as both different from and related to theirs, unique but recognizable. Maya studied the addition, then nodded. It's perfect. Vox, transmit the message. Transmitting, Vox confirmed. Message sent. In the tense silence that followed, Maya found herself holding her breath. What they had just done was unprecedented, not simply a response to the Zelthar, but an attempt to fundamentally change the nature of the interaction. Whether it would be received as intended or dismissed as incomprehensible was now beyond their control. And now, Admiral Johansson said grimly, we wait. Aboard the Zelthar flagship, Dominion's Wrath, Admiral Zalthor stood before the primary communication array, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of the display. The massive bridge around him hummed with the coordinated activities of his crew. each member linked through neural interfaces that allowed the ship to function as an extension of Zalthor's will. The human response has arrived. War Admiral, announced Sub-Commander Vex, his voice tinged with surprise. It is unusual. Zalthor's ridge-lined brow furrowed. Unusual how? Have they surrendered? No, War Admiral. But neither have they declared resistance. Vex seemed genuinely perplexed. The message does not conform to any standard response protocol. Our translation matrices are having difficulty processing it. Show me, Zalthor commanded, his six-fingered hand gesturing impatiently. The display shifted, showing the human transmission in its full complexity. Zalthor studied it, his yellow eyes narrowing as he attempted to decipher its meaning. The message contained mathematical sequences that seemed to dance around fundamental constants of the universe. Symbolic imagery that reminded him strangely of ancient Zelthar cave paintings from their homeworld, and a rhythmic pattern that resonated uncomfortably with the sacred heartbeat of Zelthar religious texts. This is... Zalthor began, then fell silent, unsure how to categorize what he was seeing. Shall we proceed with the attack as planned? Vex inquired. The invasion fleet awaits your command. Zalthor raised a hand, signaling for patience. Something about the message disturbed him on a level he couldn't immediately identify. It spoke to something ancient in his consciousness, something that predated the Dominion's rise to power. Send this to the High Oracle, he decided finally. I want her assessment before we proceed. Vex's surprise was evident in the subtle shift of his posture. The High Oracle? But War Admiral, involving the religious caste in military matters is... Do not question me. Sub-Commander. Zalthor interrupted sharply. This message contains elements that transcend military considerations. I will have the Oracle's wisdom before I decide humanity's fate. As you command, War Admiral, Vex responded, bowing deeply before retreating to carry out the order. Left alone before the display, Zalthor continued to study the human message. In his centuries of military service, he had overseen the conquest of 17 species and the absorption of their territories into the Dominion. None had ever responded like this. Most either surrendered immediately or launched futile counterattacks that were easily crushed. This was different. And difference, in Zalthor's experience, was dangerous. On Earth's orbital command station, Maya paced the laboratory, unable to sit still as they awaited the Zelthar response. Dr. Enkomo sat quietly, eyes closed in meditation, while Vox continuously monitored all communication channels. They should have responded by now, Maya said, checking the chronometer for the 100th time. It's been over 3 hours since we transmitted. Perhaps that's a good sign, Dr. Enkomo suggested, opening his eyes. If they were going to reject our message outright, they likely would have done so immediately. Or they're preparing a massive attack and don't see any need to respond at all. Maya countered, her anxiety making her pessimistic. The laboratory door slid open, and Admiral Johansson entered, his expression grave. Our long-range sensors have detected movement in the Zelthar fleet. They're changing formation. Maya's heart sank. Attack positions. No, the Admiral said, sounding puzzled. They appear to be standing down. Several of their forward vessels have powered down weapon systems. That's unexpected, Dr. Enkomo said, rising to his feet. There's more, the Admiral continued. We've received a transmission request, not a broadcast, but a direct channel to this station. They're asking specifically for the creators of the message. Maya and Dr. Enkomo exchanged startled glances. They want to talk to us? Maya asked, hardly daring to believe it. Apparently, the Admiral's expression remained cautious. I need not remind you both of the stakes here. Whatever you said in that message, it got their attention. Now you need to follow through. The communication chamber was hastily prepared. Unlike the main command center, this smaller room was designed for diplomatic exchanges, with comfortable seating and advanced holographic projection capabilities that would allow for the illusion of face-to-face conversation despite the vast distance between the human station and the Zelthar flagship. Maya and Dr. Nkomo seated themselves before the primary projection area, while Admiral Johansson and a small security team remained discreetly in the background. Vox would monitor the exchange and provide real-time analysis of Zelthar responses. "Establishing connection," announced the communications officer. "Transmission stable. Receiving their signal now." The air before them shimmered and then solidified into the imposing figure of Admiral Zalthor. Even as a hologram, the Zelthar commander radiated power and authority. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, with scaled skin the color of burnished copper and yellow eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. He was an intimidating presence. His uniform, if it could be called that, appeared to be a living extension of his body, shifting slightly with his breathing. Beside him stood a smaller Zelthar figure, draped in flowing robes of deepest black, embroidered with silver symbols that seemed to move of their own accord. This second figure wore an ornate headdress that partially obscured their face. Revealing only penetrating eyes of such pale yellow, they appeared almost white. "I am War Admiral Zalthor of the Zelthar Dominion," the larger figure announced, his voice surprisingly melodic despite its depth. "With me is High Oracle Xanathra. You have sent us a message that defies conventional response. Identify yourselves." Maya swallowed hard, then spoke with as much confidence as she could muster. "I am Captain Maya Reyes, Xenolinguistic Specialist of Earth's Defense Coalition. This is Dr. Elias Nkomo, Philosopher-Scientist. We created the message you received." Zalthor studied them, his alien face unreadable. "Your message contains elements sacred to Zelthar culture. How did you acquire this knowledge?" "Through careful study and respect for your traditions," Dr. Nkomo answered smoothly. "We sought to communicate in a way that would honor the depth of Zelthar civilization rather than merely respond to military demands." The High Oracle stepped forward, her movements fluid and graceful. When she spoke, her voice had a multi-layered quality, as though several voices were speaking in perfect harmony. "The humans have crafted what our ancestors would call a soul message," she said to Zalthor, though her eyes remained fixed on Maya and Dr. Nkomo. "It has not been received by the Dominion in 12 generations. Zalthor's posture shifted subtly. Surprise, Maya guessed, though Zelthar body language was difficult to interpret. A soul message requires a soul response. The oracle continued, "Will you permit this, War Admiral?" Zalthor seemed to hesitate, then inclined his head in what might have been assent. The oracle raised her hands, and the symbols on her robes brightened. "Humans of Earth," she intoned. "Your message speaks of interconnection, of growth through diversity rather than conformity. These are concepts long forgotten in the Dominion's expansion. You offer neither submission nor defiance, but a third path, one that requires mutual recognition." Maya glanced at Dr. Nkomo, who gave a slight nod of encouragement. This was progressing better than they could have hoped. "That was our intention," Maya confirmed. "The Zelthar Dominion's power is unquestioned, but power alone cannot create understanding between different forms of life. We believe that true strength lies in the ability to grow and evolve through contact with the unfamiliar. A convenient philosophy for a militarily inferior species," Zalthor observed, though there was curiosity rather than mockery in his tone. "Perhaps," Dr. Nkomo acknowledged. "But consider this. The Zelthar have conquered many worlds, absorbed many resources. Has this made your civilization fundamentally stronger or merely larger? Has conquest brought new ideas, new perspectives, new possibilities, or merely new territories to administer?" A tense silence followed this bold question. Behind them, Maya could practically feel Admiral Johansson's anxiety radiating across the room. They were challenging the fundamental premise of Zelthar expansion, a dangerous gambit. To her surprise, it was Zalthor who broke the silence. The Oracle believes your message contains echoes of our oldest teachings, from before the Dominion, when Zelthar were scholars and explorers rather than conquerors. The heartbeat you included, the Oracle added. It synchronizes with our sacred rhythms in a way that cannot be coincidence. Yet it maintains its uniqueness, its humanity. Because we believe that true harmony doesn't require sameness. Maya explained. Different notes create chord, different perspectives create wisdom. The Oracle's eyes seem to brighten. These words echo the writings of Zel-Barath. From the First Age, in difference, find resonance. In resonance, find truth. You know our ancient texts, Zalthor said, his tone accusing as he turned slightly toward Maya and Dr. Nkomo. No, Dr. Nkomo replied calmly. But it seems we have independently discovered similar truths. Perhaps this suggests such principles are universal, transcending the boundaries between our species. The Oracle placed a six-fingered hand on Zalthor's arm, a gesture that seemed to surprise the War Admiral. They speak wisdom, Zalthor. Wisdom our people have forgotten in our endless expansion. For a long moment, Zalthor remained silent, his alien features impossible for Maya to read. When he finally spoke, his voice had changed, become less formal, more contemplative. I have conquered 17 worlds in service to the Dominion. Each fell before our might, as is the natural order. Yet none offered anything but resources and territory. His yellow eyes fixed on Maya with uncomfortable intensity. You offer ideas, possibilities. This is unexpected. The unexpected often contains the greatest opportunity for growth, Dr. Nkomo suggested quietly. Another long silence fell. Maya fought the urge to fill it with nervous chatter, instead waiting patiently as the Zelthar leaders appeared to communicate silently between themselves, perhaps through some form of telepathy or neural link. Finally, Zalthor straightened to his full impressive height. The Dominion requires time to consider your usual response. The deadline for your surrender is extended by 7 rotations of your planet. During this time, neither side will take aggressive action. Before Maya could respond, the Oracle added, We would continue this exchange of ideas. Prepare a delegation to board our vessel. You will be granted safe passage and diplomatic immunity according to the ancient protocols. With that, the transmission ended abruptly, leaving Maya and Dr. Nkomo staring at empty air. Well, Admiral Johansson said from behind them, his voice thick with amazement. It seems your philosophical puzzle bought us more than time. It bought us a conversation. And possibly much more, Dr. Nkomo said, turning to face him with barely contained excitement. Did you hear what the Oracle said? They're invoking ancient protocols, suggesting the Zelthar once had diplomatic traditions before they became purely conquerors. It's a start, Maya agreed, feeling a cautious hope beginning to bloom. But only that. We've confused them, intrigued them, but they still command overwhelming military force. True, the Admiral acknowledged, but confusion and intrigue are vastly preferable to the extinction they were planning yesterday. He straightened his uniform. I need to inform Earth's governments immediately, and we need to prepare this delegation. As he left, Maya turned to Dr. Nkomo. Do you think they're sincere? Could the Zelthar actually be reconsidering their approach to us? I think, Dr. Nkomo replied thoughtfully, that we've tapped into a tension within their civilization, between what they were and what they've become. Whether that's enough to save us? He shrugged. That depends on what happens next. 7 days passed in a flurry of preparation and debate. Earth's governments argued fiercely over who should be included in the delegation to the Zelthar flagship, Military leaders insisted on sending armed escorts, while diplomats pressed for a purely civilian contingent to emphasize peaceful intentions. Meanwhile, Maya and Dr. Nkomo worked tirelessly with Vox to prepare for the unprecedented direct contact with Zelthar leadership. "We need to understand their social hierarchies better," Maya insisted during one marathon planning session. "Every interaction will be laden with significance we might miss." "More importantly," Dr. Nkomo countered, "we need to identify potential allies among them. The Oracle clearly responds to different values than the War Admiral. There may be factions within Zelthar society that could be receptive to alternative approaches." In the end, a compromise was reached. The delegation would consist of Maya and Dr. Nkomo as the architects of the original message, accompanied by a small team of Earth's most distinguished scientists, philosophers, and artists, representatives of human creativity and thought, rather than military or political power. A single security officer would accompany them, unarmed as a show of trust but trained in multiple combat disciplines as a precaution. As the departure time approached, Maya found herself in the station's observation deck, staring out at the distant points of light that marked the Zelthar fleet. Despite maintaining their position far from Earth, their presence was a constant reminder of the precarious nature of the current détente. "Nervous?" came a voice from behind her. Maya turned to find Dr. Nkomo approaching, his tall frame silhouetted against the corridor lights. "Terrified," she admitted with a small smile. "We're about to board a vessel belonging to a species known primarily for exterminating other intelligent life forms. Yet they've invited us," Dr. Nkomo pointed out, coming to stand beside her at the viewport. "That alone represents a departure from their usual approach." "Unless it's a trap," Maya said. "Lure us aboard, eliminate Earth's experts in Zelthar communication, then proceed with the invasion." Dr. Nkomo considered this. Possible, but inefficient by Zelthar standards. Why delay their victory to eliminate a handful of humans when their fleet could destroy our entire civilization in hours? "That's not as reassuring as you might think," Maya replied with a rueful laugh. "No, I suppose not." Dr. Nkomo's dark eyes reflected the distant stars. "But consider this. We've already achieved something unprecedented. We've forced one of the galaxy's most implacable civilizations to pause and reconsider. Whatever happens next, that alone is remarkable." Maya nodded, drawing strength from his quiet confidence. "I keep thinking about the Oracle's reaction to our message. She recognized something in it, something from their past." "Yes," Dr. Nkomo agreed. "I believe we may have inadvertently tapped into a cultural memory, perhaps even a kind of collective nostalgia for what they once were, before conquest became their defining characteristic." "You think they could change?" Maya asked. "After centuries of expansion and domination?" Dr. Nkomo was silent for a long moment before answering. "I think all intelligent beings contain multitudes, competing impulses, contradictory values, alternative possibilities. The Zelthar have chosen one path for generations, but that doesn't mean other paths aren't still accessible to them." He turned to face her directly. "The question is whether we can help them see those alternatives clearly enough to consider them." Before Maya could respond, Vox's voice came over the station's communication system. "Captain Reyes, Dr. Nkomo, please report to Docking Bay 3. The transport to the Zelthar flagship will depart in 30 minutes. With a deep breath, Maya straightened her uniform. Time to find out if philosophy can truly stand against battleships. Dr. Nkomo's smile was gentle. "It already has, Captain. Now we see if it can do more than simply delay them." The transport vessel was small but elegant, designed to showcase human engineering at its finest. As it approached the massive Zelthar flagship, Maya felt a sense of scale that digital images had failed to convey. Dominion's wrath was colossal, easily 20 times the size of Earth's largest battlecruiser. its hull covered in what appeared to be living metal that pulsed with internal energies. "Magnificent," whispered Dr. Alia Hassan, the quantum physicist who had joined their delegation. "Their command of gravitational manipulation must be extraordinary to maintain structural integrity at that scale." "And terrifying," added Professor Santiago, the cultural anthropologist seated beside her. "Imagine the resources required to build such a vessel. How many worlds stripped to construct their fleet?" Maya said nothing. Her attention focused on the approaching docking bay that had opened like a massive maw in the side of the flagship. Their pilot, a veteran of deep space missions, guided the transport with expert precision into the cavernous space. "Atmosphere reads as compatible with human physiology," the pilot announced. "Gravity set at approximately 1.2 Earth standard. Prepare for docking." The delegation, 8 humans in total, gathered their minimal belongings. They had been instructed to bring no technology beyond simple communication devices that had been approved by Zelthar security protocols. Maya carried only a small tablet containing reference materials on Zelthar language and culture, while Dr. Nkomo brought nothing but a small journal of handwritten notes. "Remember," Maya addressed the group as the transport completed its docking procedures. "Every gesture, every word may carry significance beyond our understanding. Follow the protocols we've discussed, and above all, remain calm regardless of what we encounter." The transport's door slid open to reveal a reception party of Zelthar officials. Unlike Admiral Zalthor, these Zelthar wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor in various metallic hues that Maya suspected indicated rank or function. At their center stood the High Oracle Zenathra, her black robe seeming to absorb the light around her. "Humans of Earth." The Oracle greeted them, her multi-layered voice echoing in the vast docking bay. "You honor the ancient protocols by accepting our invitation. Follow me to the Hall of Discourse." As they proceeded through the enormous vessel, Maya tried to absorb every detail. The ship's interior was unlike any human design. Corridors curved in mathematically precise patterns. Lighting emanated from the walls themselves, and subtle vibrations suggested that the entire structure was somehow alive, breathing in concert with its occupants. Other Zelthar they passed stopped to observe the human delegation with obvious curiosity. Some made gestures that Maya recognized as religious signs from her research, warding symbols. She realized with a chill. To many Zelthar, humans were not simply enemies, but something akin to spiritual contaminants. The Hall of Discourse proved to be a vast chamber with a ceiling that seemed to display the actual space outside the ship, creating the disconcerting impression that they were standing unprotected among the stars. At the center was a circular arrangement of what might generously be called seats, though they were clearly designed for Zelthar physiology. Admiral Zalthor awaited them, flanked by what appeared to be military officers. His yellow eyes tracked their entrance with predatory intensity. "The humans have arrived," the Oracle announced unnecessarily. "They come under the protection of Zelbarath's covenant." Zalthor inclined his head slightly. "So acknowledged, let the discourse begin." What followed was unlike any diplomatic exchange in human history. Rather than formal presentations or structured negotiations, the Zelthar initiated what seemed to be a ritualized form of philosophical debate, with the Oracle posing profound questions that both human and Zelthar representatives were expected to address. "What is the purpose of civilization?" she began. "Not its function, but its purpose." Dr. Nakomo was the first to respond, his deep voice thoughtful. "For humanity, civilization exists to elevate us beyond mere survival, to create contexts for meaning, beauty, and understanding that transcend individual lives." A Zelthar military officer countered immediately. "Civilization exists to organize power efficiently. Without power, all meaning and beauty are vulnerable to chaos and destruction." "Are they mutually exclusive?" Maya asked. "Cannot power serve meaning, and meaning direct power toward worthy ends?" This simple question seemed to cause a stir among the Zelthar, with subtle movements and expressions passing between them that Maya couldn't interpret. The conversation continued for hours, touching on concepts of progress, identity, expansion, and cooperation throughout. Maya noticed a fascinating pattern. The Zelthar military representatives consistently emphasized themes of strength, order, and dominance, while the Oracle and her acolytes asked questions that probed deeper issues of purpose and possibility. The humans, for their part, presented a diversity of perspectives, sometimes agreeing with each other, sometimes offering contrasting viewpoints. This clearly fascinated the Zelthar, who seemed to have expected a unified human philosophy. "You disagree among yourselves," Zalthar observed during a brief pause, "yet you function as a cohesive delegation. Explain this contradiction." "It's not a contradiction," Professor Santiago replied. "Human progress has always emerged from the tension between different viewpoints. We don't seek uniformity of thought. We value the creativity that emerges from diversity." "Inefficient," declared one of Zalthor's officers dismissively. "Perhaps in the short term," Dr. Hassan countered, "but remarkably resilient and adaptive in the long term. Monocultures are vulnerable to unexpected challenges precisely because they lack internal diversity." Again, Maya noticed something pass between the Oracle and Zalthor, a significant look that suggested these exchanges were having some effect beyond the obvious discourse. After what seemed like days, but was likely only about 12 hours, the Oracle announced that the first session of discourse was complete. The human delegation would be shown to quarters prepared for them, and discussions would resume after a rest period. Their accommodations were surprisingly comfortable. A section of the ship had been adapted to approximate human needs, with gravity adjusted to Earth standard and furnishings that, while strange, were functional. Maya suspected they were being observed, but found she was too exhausted to care as she collapsed onto the firm platform that served as a bed. She had nearly drifted into sleep when a soft chime indicated someone at her door. Groggily, she rose to answer it, finding Dr. Nkomo looking surprisingly alert despite the marathon session they'd just completed. "May I come in?" he asked quietly. "I believe I've noticed something important." Maya nodded, stepping aside to let him enter. Once the door closed behind him, Dr. Nkomo spoke in a low voice. "The Oracle is using us," he said without preamble. Maya blinked in surprise. "Using us? How?" "This discourse isn't primarily about establishing understanding between humans and Zelthar," Dr. Nkomo explained. "It's about exposing the Zelthar military caste to alternative ways of thinking. We're not the audience, we're the exhibit." Maya considered this. "You think there's an internal conflict within Zelthar society, between the military and religious castes?" "Not yet an open conflict," Dr. Nkomo clarified, "but a philosophical tension that's been building for generations. Our message didn't create this rift, it revealed it. The Oracle is using our presence to challenge the dominance of military thinking that has defined Zelthar expansion for centuries. So we're pawns in an internal Zelthar power struggle," Maya said, feeling a mix of concern and fascination. "I prefer to think of us as catalysts," Dr. Nkomo replied with a slight smile. "The seeds of change were already present in Zelthar culture. We've simply provided the conditions for them to germinate." Maya moved to the small viewport in her quarters, gazing out at the distant Earth, a blue marble suspended in the void, looking impossibly fragile from this distance. "Do you think it will be enough?" she asked softly. "This catalyst role?" Dr. Nkomo joined her at the viewport. "That depends on how deeply these alternative values still resonate within Zelthar consciousness. If their society truly has nothing left of what they once were, scholars and explorers, as Zalthor said, then no, it won't be enough. But if those older traditions still have roots," he shrugged, "then perhaps one message really can end a war before it begins." The next 3 days followed a similar pattern. Long sessions of philosophical discourse, interspersed with rest periods and occasional tours of permitted sections of the Zelthar vessel. Maya found herself increasingly able to read Zelthar expressions and gestures, noting with interest how some of the military officers, who had initially been dismissive of human ideas, now seemed to listen with greater attention. On the fourth day, everything changed. The human delegation arrived at the Hall of Discourse to find only the Oracle and her acolytes present, no sign of Zalthor or his military officers. "Where is Admiral Zalthor?" Maya asked, immediately concerned. The Oracle's pale eyes seemed to glow more intensely than usual. "The War Admiral has been summoned by the Dominion Council. Our discourse has attracted attention." "What kind of attention?" Dr. Nkomo inquired carefully. "The Council wishes to know why the scheduled conquest of Earth has been delayed," the Oracle replied, her multi-layered voice betraying no emotion. "Zalthor must account for his decision to invoke the ancient protocols rather than proceeding with standard military procedure." Maya felt a chill. "Is he in danger because of our presence here?" "The War Admiral commands great respect within the Dominion," the Oracle answered obliquely. "But deviation from established doctrine is unusual." "Are we still under the protection of Zel-Barath's covenant?" Dr. Hassan asked, clearly concerned about their safety in Zalthor's absence. "You remain under my protection," the Oracle assured them. "But today's discourse must be postponed. I suggest you return to your quarters until the Council has made its determination." As they were escorted back to their accommodations, Maya pulled Dr. Nkomo aside. "This could go very badly," she whispered, "if the Council overrules Zalthor. Then Earth may still face extinction." Dr. Nkomo completed her thought grimly. "Unless the Oracle has more influence than we realize." "Should we prepare for evacuation?" Maya wondered. "Try to reach our transport?" Dr. Nkomo considered this. "I'm not sure that would help. If the Zelthar decide to destroy Earth, outrunning their fleet would be impossible." He sighed. "I think our fate is now tied to whatever internal political currents are flowing through Zelthar society. Currents we barely understand." The hours that followed were tense. Confined to their quarters, with minimal communication allowed even between members of the delegation, Maya found herself alternating between hope and despair. They had come so close to establishing meaningful dialogue with the Zelthar. Had it all been for nothing? She was startled from her thoughts by the ship-wide announcement system activating. A voice she didn't recognize spoke in the Zelthar language. The words untranslatable, but the tone clearly formal and significant. Moments later, her door chimed. When she opened it, she found not a Zelthar guard, but Dr. Nkomo, his expression urgent. "We've been summoned," he said. "All of us, to the command nexus. That's the heart of the ship, where they've never allowed us before." "Is that good or bad?" Maya asked, falling into step beside him as they hurried through the corridors. "I'm not sure," Dr. Nkomo admitted. "But the Oracle's acolyte who came for me seemed excited." The command nexus was unlike anything Maya had imagined. Unlike the sterile, technological command centers of human vessels, this was a vast organic space dominated by a living projection of the surrounding galaxy, stars, planets, and nebulae floating in three-dimensional reality around them. Zelthar officers interfaced directly with this projection through neural links, their movements manipulating stellar bodies and fleet positions with graceful gestures. At the center stood Admiral Zalthor, the High Oracle Xanathra, and a new figure Maya hadn't seen before, a Zelthar of extraordinary age. Judging by the faded quality of their scales and the elaborate life support systems integrated into their body. This ancient being wore neither military insignia nor religious symbols, yet the deference shown by both Zalthor and the Oracle made their importance clear. "Humans of Earth." The ancient Zelthar greeted them, their voice surprisingly strong despite their apparent frailty. "I am Elder Vorzath, voice of the Dominion Council. Your presence has created precedented circumstances. Maya exchanged glances with Dr. Nkomo before stepping forward. Elder Vorzath, we came in peace and with respect for Zelthar traditions. If our presence has caused difficulty for Admiral Zalthor or the High Oracle. Difficulty. The Elder made a gesture that might have been amusement. You have caused far more than difficulty. Captain Maya Reyes, you have caused remembrance. Remembrance? Dr. Nkomo echoed. The Elder gestured, and the galactic projection around them shifted, focusing on a single star system with a distinctive orange sun. This is Zelth, our homeworld, the cradle of our civilization. For 17 generations, no Zelthar has set eyes upon it. Do you know why? When the humans remained silent, the Elder continued. Because we believed there was nothing left to see. Our understanding was that Zelth had been destroyed in the great conflict that launched our eternal expansion. Was destroyed implies this understanding has changed. Dr. Nkomo observed carefully. Indeed, the Elder's ancient eyes fixed on him. Your message, your soul message, as the Oracle named it, contained mathematical patterns that resonated with our oldest records. This prompted the Oracle to request access to archives sealed since before the Dominion's formation. The galactic projection shifted again, zooming in on the orange star. What she found has shaken our certainties. Zelth was not destroyed. It was abandoned, deliberately erased from our navigational records by the military caste of that era, who feared that our homeworld's philosophy of exploration and mutual growth would undermine their ambitions for conquest. Maya felt a chill at the implications. You're saying your entire civilization has been built on a lie? That the endless expansion of the Dominion was founded on a fabricated catastrophe? A simplification, Zalthor interjected, but not entirely inaccurate. Our ancestors believed that only through strength and conquest could the Zelthar survive in a hostile cosmos. They manufactured a tragedy to unite our people behind a single purpose, expansion through domination. And it worked, the Oracle added, her multi-layered voice tinged with sadness. For centuries, we believed ourselves homeless avengers, securing our future through the subjugation of potential threats, until your message awakened questions long buried. The Council has spent 3 cycles in unprecedented debate, Elder Vorzath continued. Some advocated for your immediate destruction, for the destruction of Earth, to prevent these questions from spreading further. Others saw in your message an opportunity to reconsider paths long abandoned. Maya hardly dared breathe. The fate of humanity was being decided in this moment. Based on an internal Zelthar philosophical conflict their message had inadvertently inflamed. And what did the Council decide? Dr. Nkomo asked quietly. The Elder made a complex gesture, and the galactic display shifted once more, this time showing Earth, the Zelthar fleet, and a trajectory leading away from both, toward the distant orange star. The Dominion will withdraw from Earth space, Elder Vorzath announced. We will journey to Zelth to discover what remains of our origins. This expedition will be led jointly by War Admiral Zalthor and High Oracle Zenathra, representing the balance we once maintained between strength and wisdom. Relief washed over Maya in a wave so powerful she nearly lost her footing. Dr. Nkomo steadied her with a hand on her shoulder, his own face reflecting the same astonished joy. This is not what we expected, Maya admitted, struggling to find appropriate words, nor what we intended when we sent our ultimatum. Zalthor acknowledged. Your species has achieved something no other has managed in our long expansion. You have made the Zelthar question ourselves. Not all embrace this questioning, the Oracle cautioned. Many within the Dominion still believe in the path of conquest. The journey ahead will not be without conflict. But it is a beginning, Elder Vorzath said firmly. A recognition that perhaps, after centuries of taking from the galaxy, it is time for the Zelthar to seek something different. And Earth? Dr. Hassan asked from behind Maya. What is our status with the Dominion now? Neither subject nor enemy, Elder Vorzath replied. Something new, perhaps what your Dr. Nkomo might call a catalyst for change. The ancient Zelthar turned to address Zalthor and the Oracle. Prepare the fleet for departure. The human delegation will be returned to their world with honors according to the ancient protocols. As the Zelthar officials dispersed to carry out these unprecedented orders, Maya found herself momentarily alone with Dr. Nkomo near the edge of the command nexus. Did we just save Earth with philosophy? She asked incredulously, still struggling to process what had happened. Dr. Nkomo's smile was gentle but triumphant. Not exactly. We reminded an ancient species of their own philosophy, their own forgotten identity. They saved themselves by remembering who they once were, and potentially who they might become again, Maya added, gazing at the projection of Earth, still blue, still intact, still safe in its solar cradle. Indeed, Dr. Nkomo's eyes followed her gaze. One message didn't end a war, Maya. It began a conversation, one that might eventually transform both our civilizations. 3 months later, Maya stood at the observation deck of Earth's orbital command station, watching as the last Zelthar vessel disappeared into the depths of space. True to their word, the Dominion had withdrawn their forces, leaving behind only a small diplomatic contingent to maintain the newfound, fragile connection between their civilizations. Admiral Johansson joined her at the viewport, his weathered face relaxed in a way she hadn't seen since before the crisis began. The Security Council has approved your proposal, he informed her. Earth will send a scientific and philosophical expedition to accompany the Zelthar to Zelth. They're calling it the Remembrance Mission. Maya nodded, unsurprised. And the leadership? Dr. Nkomo will head the philosophical division, the Admiral confirmed, and they're asking you to command the overall mission. Your understanding of Zelthar culture makes you the obvious choice. Maya took a deep breath, considering the implications. The journey would take years, possibly decades, but the opportunity to witness a civilization rediscovering its roots, perhaps even reimagining its future, was unprecedented. I'll accept, she said finally, on one condition. Which is? That we bring Vox. Maya smiled. After all, none of this would have happened without an AI helping us craft that first message. Seems only fair they get to see where it leads. The Admiral laughed. I think that can be arranged. He grew serious again. You know this won't be easy. The Dominion hasn't abandoned conquest entirely, just paused to reconsider. There are factions that still view Earth as a threat or a prize. I know, Maya acknowledged, but for the first time in their history, they're questioning those impulses. That's a beginning. As the Admiral left her to her thoughts, Maya recalled something Dr. Nkomo had said during their final discourse session with the Zelthar. True power isn't found in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to create something new from the ashes of old certainties. The Zelthar were facing the ashes of their civilization's founding myth. What they would create from those ashes remained to be seen. But for the first time in centuries, they were asking questions instead of simply conquering, and that, Maya reflected, was perhaps the greatest victory humanity could have hoped for. One message hadn't ended a war. It had started a conversation that might, in time, transform the galaxy.